Maya Angelou once said, "Hey, black child, do you know who you are? Who you really are? Do you know that you can be what you want to be if you try to be? Hey, black child, do you know where you're going?" My response would be yes. Mother of two beautiful boys, Kylan and TJ, CEO and founder of Sunflower Mentoring Services, nonprofit organization, Peoria's Miss Juneteenth 2025, student at Illinois Central College, a trauma-informed mentor, and a community service advocate. Though the kids I mentor call me Miss Boyce, before all of the titles, I was just a little girl longing for the love of her father. I was a broken little girl who felt like I was never enough. Today, I want to walk you through my perspective and reveal how God has illuminated my divine purpose. Born to Annie Woodard and Robert Boyce, I entered this world under challenging circumstances. Doctors advised my mother to get an abortion because they said that I would have Down syndrome. Thankfully, my father said no, and that they would embrace anything that God gave to them. My life began on December 3rd, 1997, and a cold Wednesday night changed everything. I grew up in a loving home with my mother and 4 siblings. My grandmother, Marie Woodard, had a lot to do with my upbringing. She was a sweet, God-fearing, and praying woman. As the youngest of 5 children, I enjoyed the luxury of childhood, free from responsibility. My chores were light. My siblings did most of the work. I spent most of my days playing outside and dreaming big. My mother would often say, "You don't need friends, you got enough siblings." And my grandmother would remind me to always live a purpose-filled life without distractions from my goals. Yet despite the love around me, something was still missing. At 6 years old, our family dynamic changed when my mother married my amazing stepfather, Ricky Dismuke. He became my provider, my protector, and showing up for every sporting event and embodying the father figure I needed. But still, deep down, I longed for my father. I have few memories of my father, and our communication was rare. I created an idealized version of him in my head, longing for the father-daughter relationship filled with love, guidance, and support. I wanted him to be my safe place, to celebrate with me on birthdays and holidays. Unfortunately, that never happened. In school, I always fabricated stories to fit in, masking the emptiness I felt. Other kids had both parents, and I yearned for the same. Connection. I didn't realize that the fantasy I clung to was a false illusion. On some days, I was filled with joy. On others, a wave of sadness would wash over me as I missed my father. I just wanted him to see me, wanted him to prioritize me. The absence of my father led me to seek validation in all the wrong places. I became desperate for love, pouring my heart into a high school relationship, believing I had found my savior. This is love, but I didn't understand the true meaning. Pregnant at 19, I vowed to create a family, convinced that I would break the cycle. At 20, after my son was born, his father and I separated. I projected my unmet needs onto him, expecting him to be the father I needed. When that relationship ended, I felt like a failure, and the cycle of broken homes continued. It took time to recover, but I vowed never to let that happen again. I focused on my son and promised to create a better future. But intentions alone aren't enough. A year later, yes, 1 whole year later, I entered another relationship with a man who seemed perfect, a protector and a provider. When he had expressed his desire for a family, I felt hopeful. I became pregnant with our son, TJ. But what should have been a joyful pregnancy quickly turned into chaos. Fear gripped him, and I found myself overlooking red flags, desperate for love. After another painful breakup, I faced dark thoughts, feeling trapped in a cycle I couldn't escape. I thought the only way to fix everything was to take my life. In 2020, I sat in my driveway, in my car crying, ready to end it all. 7 months pregnant. I thought about going into the house where my 4-year-old was sleeping, getting him out of the bed, getting back in the car, driving down to the riverfront and driving my car in the river. My thoughts were so loud. In that moment, then all of a sudden a peace filled my car. I began to pray and ask God for help. God, help me through this. God, strengthen me. God, forgive me for allowing my thoughts to take over and for not trusting you. I got out of the car, ready to do the work and make a change within my life. I asked myself, why am I so desperate for love? In 2022, I had a wake-up call. I was tired of the same old story. After our breakup, I spent a week researching how to break this cycle. I realized I had taken for granted the father that I had, focusing too much on my biological father instead of appreciating my stepfather who was present. Desperation comes from a lack of something, and for me, it was the absence of my father. I built my life on a false perspective and unfulfilled expectations. I learned to accept less than I deserved in love, mistaking the bare minimum for affection. Through my struggles, I created a mentoring program, Sunflower Mentoring Services, to help young girls facing similar situations. I thank God I don't look like what I've been through. I'm grateful to share my story to inspire and empower others. I am the author of my story. I hold the pen to my future. My past does not define my purpose. I realize that in order for me to grow, it requires me to let go of bitterness and the painful perspective of my past and embrace forgiveness. That is the only way that I can truly walk gracefully into my divine purpose. To my Father, I forgive you. Whew. I wanted you to be the dad I imagined, but I thank God for allowing you to be who you are. You gave me life, and that was the beginning of my journey. I hold no grudges, and I forgive you wholeheartedly. To my mother and stepfather, thank you for always being there. Thank you for teaching me and guiding me. Thank you for never leaving me. To each and every one of you in the audience, I would like to leave you with this. I embraced my struggles. My struggles are the roadmaps and the stepping stones to my success. Think about it like taking a vacation. The planning and preparation is never fun. It's often tedious and nerve-wracking. And you may be inconvenienced, but when you get to your destination and you arrive, the sense of relief you feel, the stress, the inconveniences, and the long travel time, it was all worth it. The struggles and the adversities I faced so far are the same way. I have arrived at my first vacation spot. If the great Dr. Maya Angelou would say to me today, "Hey, black child, do you know who you are?" I would say, with pure confidence, I am a 26-year-old black woman, boss woman, that is, daughter of the Most High and Annie Dismukes, granddaughter of Marie Woodard, mother of Kylan Jones and Travion Thompson, the youngest and the first female assistant supervisor at a program that serves 80-plus children daily. CEO and founder of Sunflower Mentoring Services, my 501c3 nonprofit. The first in my family to have a nonprofit, which is also a recent grant recipient only after being active for 2 months. The inaugural Miss Juneteenth Peoria 2025, a trauma-informed mentor, a college student who went from academic termination to a Gilmore Foundation scholarship recipient, a community advocate, a sister, a friend, a once broken little girl who chooses daily not to allow my perspective of my past to override my divine purpose for my future. In the words of Helen Keller, I am a sunflower who keeps my face towards the sunshine, that's S-O-N, not S-U-N, so that I cannot see the shadows. I am Alynceia Boyce.